Koz and Bru Show!
Yeah!
What is up, brother Koz?
Oh, it's the season has started. The real McCoy has started. I can get my feet wet, get my teeth in it, everything. Get my paws on it. I'm excited.
What is the real McCoy? Was there a fake McCoy, or what is the reference?
I feel like part of me feels like it was either a movie or show from the 70s that possibly referenced like something that
McCoy?
it means. Yeah, but the short answer is I really don't know.
Yeah, well, somebody out there in Twitterland can definitely let us know. We got a big show today. Let's stop jerking everybody around, Koz. Big show.
Okay, big show.
Big show. We're gonna take a little bit of leeway here, and we're going to do something that no other show has done before in the history of shows. We are going to do playoff predictions and rankings. We're going to slot these teams into their final seeds. We're going to do this perfectly without making any mistakes. We're going to do it 1 week after the fact, which is completely fair. I think it's actually more interesting than everybody else's preseason playoff prediction rankings. What do you say about that, Koz?
Absolutely, because it truly shows our genius that we can observe, teams play 5 full games, see any significant injuries, and then have the courage to make predictions on what's going to happen in the season.
Well, what's funny, too, is you got the it does sort of make us ripe for overreactions in week 1. Because that's what week 1 is always all about. It's great to be on Twitter, and see people declare, Trae Young is the next Steph Curry,
Absolutely.
And all these different players that have these big games are going to completely do that for the rest of the season. But it's been an exciting week, man. I mean, I had my first viral tweet of the year. I thought this one was better than previous viral tweets, where the underbelly of the world showed itself to me. And it's scary, man. Sometimes when you get the viral tweet, you just get these rednecks out there just saying God knows what. Not scary is not the right word, but I guess scary for our children. The viral tweet in question was the fight from the Lakers game with the Rockets. I thought in terms of NBA fights, it was a 9 on a 1 to 10. It really, for me, had all of the makings of a great NBA fight.
Yeah.
I know we're not supposed to say that. We're supposed to be leaders.
Yeah. Yes. Get that. Listen, it was good. It was fun. Actually, it was refreshing because they were trying to land blows and they were trying to hurt each other. So it was a legitimate 99% of all NBA fights are two guys that are trying to save face and are
probably been 2 fights in their entire life.
If that, and they're just waiting for people to come break it up so they can really act tough. And this was an actual fight, so it was awesome.
Nothing toughens you up like somebody else holding you back. It's a strange human phenomena. But there was some good blows in that fight. Like Rondo's first punch, you're looking at that thing in slow-mo, I bet Chris was stunned a little bit.
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely.
And his right, the counter was right on point, I thought. Yeah. And Brandon Ingram,
wow.
if you're going to jump in from behind, that was a pretty good punch too.
Yeah. He was coming. Brandon was serious. He was really, the whole thing was really, I wonder if there's something off the court going on in his life that just put him in a mood, because the whole thing started with that James Harden push. And James Harden really didn't do anything. No one in the league should ever have a reason to get mad at James Harden, because he's never going to foul you very hard. He's not going to he's just out there shooting the ball. So
I bet Harden was talking serious trash all game.
Yeah, but that happens. I mean, not enough to
I'm
like.
not condoning. No,
No, but
you're right.
Really,
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Else, though. I think that there might be something in his personal life that
Yeah, because he
that was
snapped. He just snapped. It was like there was like the chaos of those two guys. They were snapping, but he was on a whole nother level.
Yeah, because then when he was actually calmed down, I think what really got him going was Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony was in his ear and in his face from when he pushed Harden. Lonzo kind of got Ingram out of there, and Carmelo like followed him down the court nonstop talking, and they kind of got in each other's face, and then like they kind of got separated, and then the Paul Rondo fight happened, and so then then Ingram ran over to that, but. Yeah, it was a good time.
It made for great internet. I had a tweet of the video, and just went around the internet and back, and it was that one was fun. Everybody's having a good time with it. So for whatever reason, violence on a court, the underbelly of the world did not show itself. You tweet one thing about Steve Ballmer and Kevin Durant, and just all of the worst come out of the woodwork. So. Go figure that. We have some rookie talk we've got to at least address because both of us pretty much buried Trae Young before he got to the NBA, and he has had a mixed start to his career, I think. Right. He had a big game. What did he put up, like 35 points?
35, I think, yeah.
What are your impressions? I've seen him a little bit.
What I've seen is, he can shoot the ball when he's open, and he's got the green light. Like he's going to have every chance to be successful. My thing with him isn't so much that, he's not going to have these games once in a while. My thing is what they did to get him. I think that if you're planning on him being the best player on your team, you're not going to win a championship in the next 10 years. So they just have the idea that he's a Steph Curry or something like that to me is not. He turns the ball over way too much. He but he's gonna just gun shots. So it's not surprising. Like it wouldn't shock me if he has, if he finishes the season somewhere around 25 points and 7 assists. That wouldn't surprise me. I think he's probably going to have like 5 turnovers and shoot in the, low 30s from the field. But they're all chips are in. He's going to play a lot of minutes, and he's going to get to shoot whatever he wants. So, these kind of games, these big games are going to happen. So,
yeah, I wish that the internet and or teams covering these rookies would give them a chance to be rookies and not put them up in the the rafters in the first week. It would make it so much more enjoyable. Like the Trae Young experience so far has kind of been like what I think we thought. I don't think he was going to have as much on court staying power. Like I thought teams would exploit him on defense a little bit more coming out the chutes. He did struggle in his last game, and then was able to sort of piece together some stats to make it look not so bad, but he was 1 for 9 at one point. I believe he had 5 turnovers, and that was deep into the third quarter. So, he really struggled. And then I thought that was a really funny. This has nothing to do with basketball, but him and Wes Matthews got into it, or Wes was getting into him, I should say. And just a classic moment of a rookie trying to make good with a veteran talking trash to him. He went up to Wes Matthews to give him some dap. Wes Matthews just stared at him and did not even budge an inch. So Trae Young had to do the old air handshake. Poor kid.
That's awesome.
He thought sportsmanship would be respected in the NBA, and it's not. The rookie stuff. I think the rookie class has actually done pretty damn good. Doncic has been great. I think.
Has he?
Yeah,
I haven't seen any Dallas stuff.
He's been kind of better than you would have thought based on his preseason. Really, just the shooting is what I think sets him apart, because if he's giving you all of the versatile stuff and helping you run offense and getting rebounds and just sort of being that guy, the fact that he's just going to pull from any distance, and that he's been able to shoot the way he's been able to shoot, has been sort of a cherry on top there. There's no doubt about his NBA offensive future. I think he's going to be an above average NBA offensive player no matter what. So he's been good. Jaren Jackson's going to get all sorts of playing time, and he's been a little rough around the edges, but he's been fine. Who else has been good? You got Wendell Carter in Chicago. I think everybody's pretty high on what he's going to bring. Marvin Bagley has been pretty good on offense, at least with his core stuff. And defensively, he has wandered into some big block games. So, the team play-by-play, he might be recovering from yipping and yelling too much, but he has been okay. So I think there's a good balance of good rookie play. So
I saw Ayton had a good. I didn't know what the
Ayton's great.
Yeah, I saw he had a big first game was really big, and then I haven't really followed.
He's going to be fine. I'm way more impressed with him than I was seeing the stuff on film in college. I think he's just going to do enough well to be a fine NBA big man. So you got a quality draft. I mean, there was a couple drafts, I forget which one off the top of my head, where one or two players were good and everybody else was not good.
You're talking about the notorious DNP, kid from Cleveland and Nerlens Noel and all them.
We'll have to get the ghost of Stat Boy on that. I want to say the Frank Kaminsky year.
Yeah, it might be that.
Might be the great Frank Kaminsky year. Cody Zeller. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cody Zeller, it feels like he's like a 10-year vet. So, but I do think he was drafted within the last 5 or 6 years.
5, I think, yeah.
Rookie's good. We've got Jimmy Butler stuff back up on the radar. He's back in the news because Houston probably leaked this, but they've offered 4 first-round picks. The idea is that they don't happen in consecutive years. I forget the years exactly, but the idea is that because Houston will be good, these will be late first-round picks. I'm intrigued by this offer for Minnesota. It's a lot of people are saying it's not good enough, and I'm kind of wondering what they think they're going to get. The impact on the team, and we'll get into this as we get into the Western Conference playoff picture here. Karl Anthony Towns hasn't played well. The one game that he did play well, to quote the great Charles Barkley from last night, was when Jimmy was out.
Yeah. Minnesota's in trouble because we've talked ad nauseum about Wiggins' laissez-faire attitude toward the game, but Towns is pouting when Jimmy Butler's out there. He's actually pouting. He is not trying simply out of spite. And I don't know if anyone else is saying it, but what I saw from him in the first 2 games was a guy that basically was upset that the team was moving and playing hard and somebody else was leading them. And he was just going to walk up and down the court because I just got the big contract. I should get every shot. And why isn't everyone paying attention to me? I thought it was, if that's what they've invested in, those 2 guys, Minnesota is in trouble for a long time to come.
Yeah, the contracts are no joke, and there's huge question marks about them there. And for Houston, we've even covered this is their chance if they're really going to pull this off. To compete with the Warriors, that is, they got to do this deal. And so the way that this deal could work is Marquise Chris and Brandon Knight are eligible to be traded on October 31st. And there was a tweet by Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer, who's pretty connected, is basically saying what a lot of people are saying is that the league people do not expect this to go much longer than that. So Miami bowed out. I kind of expected at some point for Miami to do this where they can't have their team under constant duress of what if this trade. And Pat Riley went into the team and basically stopped short of promising that nobody was getting traded, but basically said, hey, look, this is done, at least for now. And probably told them it could pick back up, but, for now, hey, we've tapped the brakes.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks think this was leaked by Houston to put pressure on Minnesota to make a deal, and I kind of wonder if it was leaked by somebody to, on Minnesota's side to get Miami back to the table on this.
Yeah, I don't know that would work, because certainly I don't think Miami's going to go that deep, not for Jimmy Butler at his age. I think that, Miami, what they have going for them a little bit more than, say, Houston is Miami is still a great destination. People want to live in Miami. There's no income tax in Florida. So I don't think that Pat Riley is going to do anything so extreme to get one player who, although he's still very good, is probably on the other side of his prime or getting there. He's probably got, this year and next year as the best version of Jimmy Butler, and then he's going to be going down. I don't think that Pat Riley is interested in trading away, but especially since they know how to draft. I don't think that he'd be remotely interested in trading away 4 picks for him. So,
well, and that's the other part that I'm not seeing chatter about is it feels like Minnesota could just do this deal, and you could maybe get a better deal out of Miami if you get, pardon me, somebody like Josh Richardson, and also, I don't know, like you maybe pull Bam out of him, and then get a little bit of pickage as well. The presence of third teams, a la the Sacramento Kings, gets into play. I think the Kings could really make a play here, and nobody wants Gorgui Dieng's contract. Gorgui Dieng's actually played a little bit better this year than he did last year. Tibbs is probably, given him like an upgrade in his mind and just sort of let him be a little bit better player this year.
Thanks, Tibbs.
He's not completely crushing that poor kid's soul as he did last year. And so what I wonder is, the Kings aren't, first of all, they've got space. They don't have any real chance of competing in the next couple years. So bringing on a Gorgui Dieng, seeing what they could get in terms of a pick or, some sort of desirable asset, that could make sense for them. And they also need a big man in the worst way that can defend on the interior, because neither of their rookies can defend on the inside. And that leaves Costa Koufos, and he's not really somebody you want on the floor if you're the Sacramento Kings. So I think that's a good possibility there. But we haven't heard anything really come out of the organization, and no smoke there from league insiders. So really, it's about a 3-team situation. And I think if you're Houston, I understand why you do this, because I think your window is right now. Chris Paul's long in the tooth. James Harden, it can't be James Harden forever. But then the flip side of this for Minnesota is one injury can take the Rockets from, a high seed in the playoffs and a low draft pick to maybe these things could have some value. And I don't know what kind of protections would be put on them.
Right.
And also picking in the late 20s. I mean, we see good players get picked up there all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's
Look at
a
their
lot
current picks. That's probably what they're thinking right now. They got Josh Okogie and Keita Bates-Job. Both look promising.
Yeah, and the kid, Jones, who they just doesn't play enough, but every time he's in there, I think he does an excellent job.
I like picks in that range.
Yeah, well, because what you're going to have is everybody's gunning for the moon, so all the one-and-doneers are out. So when you're picking in that range, you're going to have a lot of juniors, a lot of seniors who have a large body of work to look at, and you know exactly what you're getting. And then, hey, if they are better than advertised, then cool. Then you really got something. But that range is a lot safer. I mean, you have a lot. It's not as much of a guess or a hope or a dream as those early lottery picks are. I mean, you got a lot of footage of them playing against, grown men, and it's it's good.
Well,
so,
and we'll segue into the West here since we're talking about the Wolves. It's very just interesting. Like, okay, you do have these two guys locked up in Cat and Andrew Wiggins. What's your timetable on this thing? Like, if you're looking without Jimmy Butler, we'll go through our predictions right now, but like, can Minnesota, like, when are you going to try to predict? In fantasy leagues, we have this format called Dynasty, where you play this thing out over years, and there's a strategy: win now, win later, and it really drives how you build your franchise. And there's the tanking philosophy in regular NBA, and then there's, I think, what most smart teams do is they increment upward. So like, you've got a low end bubble team, if we're being kind.
Yeah.
With those two players, maybe. I don't know what you think Wiggins is at this point if you're the Wolves. So, like, are you looking at these first-round picks and saying, okay, our window is way down the road, like 5 years from now, in which case both those two players' contracts are up, and you're not winning now with that kind of move.
Yeah, they're in a peculiar situation because, especially when you look at neither of them play defense. So you're saying that your two highest paid guys, your best two offensive guys, are, really against dirty work and defense and winning basketball. And so I don't know who's going to want. Word gets around. If you're a guy that's entering their prime, you're not interested in going over there. You're not, he's not a draw like Anthony Davis is, So I don't know what their plan is, but this whole thing has just been a complete disaster from the second they traded for Butler. They talk about like not doing your homework. I mean, this has just been you not only did you lose that trade, and now you're going to colossally, even if Butler was happy, I still don't think that they're winning that trade. But now that he's going to be gone, I mean, what are you doing?
It also reeks of like something in the ballpark of like, you got to do it. Like, so like you got for Karl Anthony Towns, like the conventional wisdom is you got to do it. You got to like sign this guy because you'd be stupid not to, right?
Right.
They didn't take care of Jimmy Butler.
Right.
And you can debate that decision, but it seems silly that you're getting extremely nitpicky with whether or not you keep Jimmy Butler or, and you're just sort of mailing in the analysis of whether or not you want to surround your team with Karl Anthony Towns. And we don't even need to bring Andrew Wiggins into this because that was just a dumb deal.
Right.
But like, if you think there's this, it's fantasy, so it's different, but it's like the same principles are at play. Like, if you're going to spend a big chunk of money on a guy, like in an auction league, you're going to pin your hopes on that guy. And if you don't think Cat's got the makeup or, that other free agents are going to want to flock to Minnesota to play with him, I think you have to determine that a year ago.
Yeah.
And then say, we're going against conventional wisdom here. We're going to trade this guy, and we're going to get something massive in return. But nobody's got the cojones to put on the table, to say, hey, we're going to do that. And that's who knows why. That could be the owner. That could be.
I think it's a lot of it has to do with the front offices and they're, leaning on, analytics and stuff like that. I mean, the people are looking a little bit too, when you're talking about your high end guy, your number one guy that you're going to give 150, down the road might be, in the running to, get the super max. When you're talking about that kind of guy, it's not about what they're potential is. It's a, their game is this, and they can play in the modern league. Mental makeup has to be a huge part of that equation. What they bring from a mental aspect to practice, to the game, to games when they're losing, like that has to be a huge chunk of it. And if they don't have that, you can't fork over this kind of money. And that almost immediately. That's not something that necessarily gets developed. Like there's going to be hints that this guy is going to come in every single day and grind and work. And if you've been watching a guy certainly for 3-4 years, I mean, you already know what you have from that perspective. And you can't just go, well, but he does so many things so well. Let's just hamstring the franchise. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, these are the decisions that we make regularly over here. I mean, you get into an auction format in a fantasy league, you have to get a great top 5 player in most cases to win, and you got to pick the guy that you think is going to just not have any issues. And right. It's, for an NBA decision maker, like it feels like that there's just not enough organizational support for them to go against the grain.
And that's 100% true. I mean, because there's so much turnover. There's so much turnover. Like people are not people. I don't know any organizations or too many where someone would have the courage to do that, because you're going to get slaughtered the second that you make that trade. You're going to get slaughtered by the internet and by all these different things. So. Yeah,
that's why I love the Heat. I love the Heat. I love the Raptors right now. I love, I love these organizations that just don't have the BS. And it's funny, Layden coming from the Spurs, Scott Layden, GM of the Minnesota Timberwolves, coming from the Spurs. You just kind of wonder, like, did he have the call on Karl Anthony Towns? And is owner Glenn Taylor, who's pretty hands-on and has made a mess of many things in the past, is he saying, and he did with Wiggins, did he say, look, I want Cat, I want Wiggins, and make it happen. And Jimmy Butler, I don't like him. Get him out of here. Because
and especially like Karl Anthony Towns, like he is over the top polished as far as the way he presents himself. Like he's really good. He spent
time trying to cultivate his media kind of career.
I don't know that, especially like the type of people who are owners, with that generation gap. I don't know that he can't go in and charm almost any owner. I'll charm the socks out of him. Like he's really good. So it wouldn't shock me that if, that the Minnesota owner just loves the guy. It's just not going to shock me. So, there's that.
I'll tell you what, I just wish I could have been a fly on the wall in the practices where Jimmy Butler's yelling at everybody within earshot, you can't win without me. That is a great, everybody who's played the game has been on a court where somebody has literally held court. Yeah. Just announced with a bullhorn that you can't stop me. Right. To see it at the NBA level would just be fascinating. And I'm sure Michael Jordan had plenty of those and many players, but just, in this particular internet, Twitter age, just to be able to kind of be a fly on the wall, that would be great. All right, let's do some playoff stuff. In order to speed through some of this, I want to hear your bottom 3 teams for the West, and I want to hear basically nothing about them.
All right, bottom 3. We're going to go with San Antonio sneaking in.
Why? Wait. How do we let that happen without talking about that?
I just think I'm looking around the league, and I'm looking at, I'm just looking at what teams are doing. And I just think that they know what they're getting. I think DeMar DeRozan's playing really well. I was worried with Murray going down and with White going down, but I think they're going to stay afloat. I mean, I think they're one injury away, I think they're definitely one injury away, but I think Aldridge is going to give them enough. I think White.
Wait. You're doing is this the bottom 3 playoffs or bottom 3?
Oh, I thought playoffs.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about bottom 3 of the West. All right.
Bottom 3. Oh no, I thought we were just going to do this.
Well, we kind of got to know who's at the bottom. Well,
it's everybody else. I mean, I don't know. I didn't do the entire West.
If I told you I had Memphis, Sac, and Phoenix as the bottom 3 teams in that order,
I would say that maybe Phoenix might not be there, but that's pretty good picks.
So
I don't trust Conley.
Phoenix could be better than
higher.
Okay,
I think they could be, and I just don't trust that you're going to see Marc Gasol and Conley for 50 games. So.
They're already pretty thin. I mean, Garrett Temple's playing 30 minutes for them. He's not the guy that should have been a Defensive Player of the Year candidate 2 years ago. He's something way less than that. Okay, so then
let's hear
Minnesota. I have Minnesota as the 12th team.
Yeah, I don't have them making the playoffs either for all the reasons.
And that's crazy, right? Like, they're looking at being one of the worst teams in the West, in my opinion.
I think so too. This is going to get really bad. I don't know if Tibbs will be there at the end of the season. Like this is a mess. This is one of the worst. This is really bad. Minnesota's going to have a long year.
All right. What about them Clippers? I think so. I have them at 11. You got them anywhere else?
They'll be nipping at the bud. They'll be there.
I think they could make it.
They could. They were close last year. They could. They
got to keep Pat Beverly healthy.
Beverly's got to be healthy. I think at times Tobias Harris has to be. When he has those matchup that are favorable, he's got to be a lot more aggressive than he is sometimes.
So far, so good in that department. But I like they have a good talent table there. I hope that they let Montrezl Harrell play. He's physically looking like a kind of a Draymond Green without the old Draymond Green's jump shot. The new Draymond Green doesn't shoot anymore, and I don't know what's up with that. But okay, so the Clippers were in agreement there. So I had the Spurs on the outside of the playoffs looking in. You had them on the inside.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. That's not a bad. That's probably the smart play.
I don't feel good about it. I'll say that much.
Yeah,
it's all the same stuff. It's they're coached up. They didn't play Pirtle because he missed a rotation the other day. They played the kid 10 minutes, and at some point in time, Pirtle will make that rotation and probably be a key cog.
Sure.
For what they're doing. Bryn Forbes, pardon me. Is it Bryn? I think it was Bryn.
The Michigan State kid?
He was good last year.
Yeah.
So he's stepping in.
Dude, it doesn't matter. I don't care what you say. Whenever you watch film of a Michigan State kid, that's exactly what you're going to get at the NBA.
Well, that's why Jaren Jackson is going to be a beast
better
this year.
Yeah. They might end up being better than you thought, but that they're going to know how to play, and whatever you saw that they can do well in college, they're going to do well in the pros. Period.
And it's, DeMar DeRozan's going to carry a lot of that weight. LaMarcus Aldridge carried the weight last year. I'm having a really hard time keeping them out of the playoffs. As we'll get through these bubble teams here, the West, I don't want to say they're stacked. They're just there's just more in the bottom of that bracket, in the bottom of the teams that will make the playoffs. There's just way more pop than the East. And so it's a little bit odd. The top of the West isn't that strong, in my opinion. The East, I'm way more on board with some of those Eastern Conference teams. But anyway, so you have San Antonio in, and that, I guess, leads me to my next bubble team. I guess maybe we'll anchor to my list, and then we can talk about your list. The Thunder, I have them out.
You do?
I do, and it's not because of last night's game, and it's not because of their 0-4 start or whatever.
Are they 0-4?
They are 0-4, and I don't care. That's the week one overreaction stuff. Is if they lost 4 games in the middle of February before the All-Star break, nobody would care.
No one would care. No one would notice, right?
It's so stupid what we do in the first week of the season. But I worried about them before the season started because of Andre Roberson didn't look like the guy that he looked like 2 years ago, last year. And even if he could have played this year, they would have had struggles with depth in that area. Now he's gone. I don't think you can count on him to come back.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of guys that really shouldn't be playing right now.
Yeah.
Hamidou Diallo, probably butchering his name. He's probably not ready to play. Ferguson's probably not ready to play. Those guys are probably going to average like 20, 30 minutes per game. Abrines, I think he'll be okay as a stopgap solution, but he's going to get, struggle defensively, and he's going to, be a below average player for them. So there's just a lot of guys that are playing.
Yeah, I think I'm a little higher on some of those guys that you've mentioned. I think I'm a little higher on them because I really like their athleticism. I think these guys they're just going to have to play. They have to not play the way they're playing. They're going to have to play a little more dirty and untraditional basketball. And I think that Russell Westbrook really might keep them. I mean, if they don't make it, I think you're going to have to look at Russell Westbrook a little bit differently. Because last night was really, really bad. But he does this. He has these, games at the end of games where he basically, he's shooting. It's not going to be a good shot. And, Paul George, he's a really, really good offensive player. There's no reason for him to feel like he's out on the island. Donovan has not done a good enough job of reining him in. And, I could see where you're coming from, but I just think that I think George will do enough to get him in.
George has some savvy to his game that I think, especially in the number 2 role, you see the savvy sort of lock in, and a lot of players, when they get that number 1 role, they press and they try to do too much, and that changes the dynamic of their game. And Russ, what I've always wondered is when the athleticism starts to go, how does he handle that? Because everything's predicated on athleticism right now. Yeah. And of course, the way that he was trained early on in his career by the Thunder, the Scott Brooks, the whole organization letting him do what he was doing, it has just screwed him up to no end. Yeah. And I don't know if he can undo that.
Yeah. You can't be in the league as long as him and still be that unprepared to catch and shoot the ball.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, his feet are never set. He's just never prepared.
I've said this in a previous show. I think he should, and I know that Sam Presti is a new age sort of a thinker. He needs to meditate, man. He needs to because he's on the court. He's so wired. I think that's why he can't set his feet, before the ball's coming, because he's just so wired. Like, he needs to settle in and work on some fundamental stuff. So I got him at 9, and that's it's hard because somebody's got to get kicked out. And so, I'll ask you about this number 8, and I think you're probably going to have them out of the playoffs if I had to guess. That's Dallas.
Oh yeah, no way. I think they're close, but I just think that Dirk, and he'll probably play too much, and I don't think the reins are going to be passed. It's just too sticky. They're really good though. They're a year away. I think Dirk retires. I think they've got a lot. I like Powell. I like Smith, and I like Dirk. I just think that sometimes your loyalty as a coach to a guy like that can be a little much. He's not playing in games a lot. I think he's only played 1 game. Has he played?
I don't think he's played yet.
I wonder when he gets hot for a stretch, if Carlisle doesn't maybe call his number one too many times, in tight games where he just can't get it done, they'll be close. They'll be there, but I just can't see them.
I look at these guys and I see veterans, and I know that they got a rookie and, a sophomore, in two key positions, but like Wes Matthews, DeAndre Jordan, JJ Barea, even like Dorian Finney-Smith has played a ton of minutes for them. I completely don't think this is a lock by any means.
But I tell you what though, there's I hope I haven't looked at the minutes yet. If they can find a way to keep Jalen Brunson on the floor, dude, then we're on to something. Because he is for real. Like, he's a good basketball player. And so, I mean, like, I think it's going to come down to the wire. Them, like the Clippers, I think they're going to be right there. They're going to be right there.
You're dropping a dime right here. Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good knowledge right there for the non-fantasy crowd. And for the fantasy crowd. Like, if you're playing in a 30-team league, Jalen Brunson. You heard it here first. Well, and that's kind of what I see with Dallas is it feels like they've got waves of players that they can bring. Like Dwight Powell, I think the light bulb has gone on. He's just going out there and just doing stuff that coach wants him to do.
Right.
So I'm excited for their prospects, and I feel like they're just going to compile wins in a way that like OKC and San Antonio might just have to struggle with. San Antonio is the one that worries me the most because of all the aforementioned reasons in terms of my prediction. OKC, I could see OKC really struggling for like they're 0-4 right now. Not worried about that, but like too many 0-4 stretches because the depth isn't there, or something happens. And also if Steven Adams, if anything happens to that guy, I do think Nerlens Noel has played well, but he can't be Steven Adams. Steven Adams makes that team click.
Oh yeah, that would be they would fall from barely missing the playoffs to, I mean, they could be really bad without Steven Adams.
Yeah. So. They could. So this brings my next team up, and I'm sure this is going to spark all sorts of conversation. I have him in the 7th slot. This is the Los Angeles Lakers.
Okay.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, I got him higher. I think that again.
Where you got him?
I got him at 4.
I got him at 4. I took the over on them. So I think the over was 47.5. So I got him at 48 in, over under betting. But
yeah, I think that I like what I've seen so far. They gotta get Rondo out of there. I mean,
I was going to present that on Twitter. I was going to say, what's the odds that he's not with the team in 2 months?
Dude, if the opportunity comes for someone desperate for a point guard, I would, because Lonzo Ball is really uncomfortable when it's like him, when it's Rondo, him, and LeBron. Like, he's really he could deal with LeBron having the ball and stuff, and he's played that. But when he has to go too many possessions without ever touching the ball and then expected to shoot and just be kind of a scorer, he's really bad. Like, he's really, these last couple of games without Rondo has really been set free. And you can see the improvements that he's made in this game. And so, Rondo just doesn't bring anything to the table. He puts guys in terrible positions late in shot clock.
He does that.
And it's like you don't see it in the stats because it's not a turnover for him.
Right. Well, and he's fully aware of that.
And he's fully aware of that. And you're like, what do you had the ball with 10 seconds. There was someone open. You didn't pass it to him. You dribbled 5 more times. Now with 3 seconds, you pass it to somebody completely covered in the corner, and they have to hoist up a Hail Mary. And it's like, and he walks away scot-free from it.
I watch that stuff, first of all, it's like such a tired conversation. Like, When I hear somebody talk about Rondo's veteran leadership, I
Yeah.
immediately assume you know nothing about basketball. Like
Right. Give it a rest.
you are just reaching. You're not doing your research. You're just, you haven't watched. Like that's
Yeah.
where
And
I get. And so I wonder why the Lakers did this, but
it
that's
was
Magic Johnson, right?
it was funny because Barkley, that's what he said. He was like last night after the game, he's like, I kind of think they're playing a little bit better without Rondo, man. And Shaq immediately just jumped all over him. No, you're crazy. You're crazy. But that was exactly what I was watching. I mean, I only have missed the Phoenix game.
Well, he's such you can only have so many outsized presences on a team as well. Like LeBron is historically hard to play with.
Right.
So how can you even consider adding somebody who's maybe harder
exactly
to play with?
Right.
And so I think that they could, you're right. If they were to be like, we're cutting ties, for whatever reason, Rondo said something in the locker room and, we're getting rid of him. Like, I would up their win total by, 3 or 4 games, depending on how many games are left. Starting slow, they're, I've just, the way I explained it, I did these big write-ups for over-unders, and then my write-up for the Lakers was one line. It was, LeBron's taken worse teams to more wins than this.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to be in the mix. It's going to be one of those things too that's really fun. Like, so if they don't make it, then obviously this doesn't come into play. But like being a 7 seed or an 8 seed, God, who wants to play LeBron James in the first round?
Right. And the thing is, I feel like, but I think from his perspective and Walton's perspective, like I feel like that we talked a little bit about this before we started the show. That whole, I think from maybe even with Houston's slow start, and if they make the Butler deal, that will change things up. I think the Warriors now are clearly going to be the number 1 seed, but from 2 to 12, I mean, there could be quite a bit of jumping around. And I think once the Lakers are kind of in and look like they're going to be at the very worst a 7, I think LeBron's just going to push and drag them to
like a
that top 4. Yeah, I just think that he doesn't want to deal with Houston or Golden State in the first round. And I think he's just going to drag him. And we're also, and people are, these predictions and stuff, people are like forgetting that, there's a really good chance that Lonzo Ball, Kuzma, and Ingram could be a lot better after 82 games than they are right now. Like for some reason, like I listened to a couple people talk about like, the way they're playing and they're like, these guys aren't, they're not going to do this. And dude, we're quite a while away from this time. I mean, Kuzma, he's putting the ball on the floor really, really well right now. He's playing great. So I'm really excited about him.
Yeah, in addition, by subtraction situation would help them a lot. And also, JaVale McGee, and we're gonna probably, this will be our last word on the Lakers. He played 30 minutes last night. My thing is like, can they just keep him upright? I think he's capable of playing 30 minutes now. But can they keep him upright? That's
they gotta. I mean, I don't know when they're expecting Wagner back, but they gotta get Zubac on the floor. And I know that they have just destroyed his confidence. But they just like the only reason that Denver stayed in the game was when they were playing big bully ball. When McGee sat down, they must have had a 6 out of 10 possession stretch where they only scored on second chance opportunities, just because the next tallest guy was like 6'7". They owe
JaVale McGee because they owe JaVale McGee because he has taken the minutes, he's handled them well, and that's it's big for fantasy owners that grabbed him in the late rounds. Man, he has been a top 40 type of a player to start the season. Okay, let's cover some big distance here. Let's go with 2 playoff teams that are on everybody's radar. Portland. Do you have Portland in?
I have them at the 7. I do.
Okay, so I'm at the
That's a
6.
direct result of how awful I think Minnesota is going to be.
Yeah, yeah. Minnesota created a little bit of space in here. Utah, I'm a little more worried about Utah, having seen Rudy Gobert. I don't think he's as explosive as he was last year, and I thought he'd lost explosion last year. Stats have been good.
Yeah.
I got them at the 5. The next interesting team that pops up is the Pelicans. I have them at 4.
Okay.
Do you got them in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have them in at 5.
Okay.
And I have Utah all the way up at 3. I think they're gonna have another interesting beginning of the season, and then I think they're gonna come on like gangbusters. But I have them at 3.
I think Utah will probably enter the playoffs as the third or second best team in the West as far as talent and where they're at. I think they're gonna struggle with a bullseye on their back, which sucks because I didn't hammer it, but I did take the over. I think for them. A question mark. Now I'm trying to remember what I bet. But I think they might have a little bit of a tougher stretch early on. Then conversely, I think Denver is going to end up as a 3 seed. I think that they've got a nice little built-in home court advantage, and they are kind of built to win regular season games. So it sounds like you probably have Denver at like 5, right?
What did I do?
Well, you probably forgot Denver.
Yeah, I you know what? I have them at
3.5.
Yeah, I have them at I have Utah, Lakers, Denver at 5, OKC, OKC, Portland, and I know I have San Antonio just missing.
So you have San Antonio out now.
I have them out, yes.
My God.
Yeah.
The production value on this show is shining through. And nobody cares.
Oopsie daisy. And the thing is, we had a week and a half to prepare.
The West is like that though. You're like, wait, there's another team that could compete. So San Antonio's out. Well, sucks to be you, San Antonio. I had Denver at 3. It sounds like you have them at like 5. I
have them at 4.
No,
4. Excuse me. Yeah, 5. Denver at 5.
Okay, we'll do probably championship and playoff predictions in another show. Houston, I have at 2, and I have Golden State at 1.
Yep.
Shockers. Okay, let's do the East. I'm gonna ask you if you disagree with these 5 teams at the bottom of the East. In order of best record to worst record, I've got Orlando at 11, Chicago at 12, Knicks at 13, the Hawks at 14, and the Cavs as the worst team in the league.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think maybe the Bulls can do something a little bit special to get out of there, but they're really young.
Well, it's hard when they keep getting injured.
And their health is another big thing. And yeah, so I just they're gonna have a tough time with the West. And but I like this position they're in as far as moving toward the future. They're in a good spot, but this isn't their year. And Cleveland's a mess. I don't know what the hell Tyronn Lue is doing over there.
It reeks of like somebody really likes Chetty, if I'm getting that right, Chetty Osman, because he's just he's got the neon green light right now. And you got a perfect mess of situations there. George Hill should be able to just put up numbers because he's a serviceable NBA player on a bad team. He still can't do it. Don't know what's going on there. Hawks, they actually could surprise me. I think they could. The point guard issues aside, Taurean Prince is really taking another step forward, which is great for hoop ball because he's one of our guys. You don't have John Collins back yet, but Kent Bazemore, I think, is going to do okay this year. And they kind of rounded out a low-end team that's young with a little bit of upside. Anyway, the Nets I have at 10.
Yeah.
They feel like they're improving to me.
Yeah, they're tough. I think I think we've talked about it a lot. I think the quicker that and he's played a little bit better from what I've seen, but the quicker that they axe D'Angelo Russell's minutes,
oh God, yeah,
the better they're going to be. I love Jared Allen. Jefferson's tough. I love Dinwiddie and LeVert. I think are
they're good.
Good players, and I think they're moving in the right direction. But this D'Angelo Russell thing, I mean, people just the quicker it's so much pride I think is involved in these front offices and coaching staffs that they make a decision and rather just admit that they're wrong quick and move on. They want to shove it down your throat and prove that they did right.
Well,
but,
it's funny. It happens with analysis as well. Like Karis LeVert was a big overhyped guy from a couple years ago, and he started off. And some of this is Rondé Hollis Jefferson wasn't back yet. People really don't know how much that guy handles the ball, which is kind of funny because he's so awkward. Like, he's that guy in the basketball court where you're like, huh? Like, how is he good? Like, how does the ball keep going in? But it keeps going in. LeVert, starts off on a tear, and, these guys, like, come out of the woodworks, like, you're stupid if you didn't know that Karis LeVert was going to be Michael Jordan. And it's like, wait, what? We're in the first week of the season. But, yeah, like, the pride, that's the only reason D'Angelo Russell should be on the floor, really, more than, like, 20 minutes, 25 minutes a game.
Right. And that's a lot. I mean,
he's duplicative.
I don't think he's as good as those guys. Like, Karis LeVert has a lot of health problems, but just Karis LeVert and Dinwiddie are just better than him.
Point blank, not even hard to see.
Yeah. So, so I don't understand the issue.
I don't know if they'll get off it, but I kind of think it doesn't matter because like they've got enough good players to be the 11 or probably the 10 seed.
Right.
In the East. I think they could make the playoffs as well. The hard part is the bottom of the East has some like stalwarts that you just don't see falling off. And one of them who is not a stalwart, but with Kemba Walker and Nick Batum and Jeremy Lamb, I really like Jeremy Lamb. They're, to me, like they've got enough players who've been there, done that, and are in Kemba Walker. You got a game breaker. I think that they'll be the 9 seed. It's hard for me to see a team like Brooklyn reaching up past Charlotte, and then also knocking somebody else out. So let's go to Charlotte. Are you keeping them out or are they in?
I got them barely out. 9. Yeah, they're just. I think
East is kind of easy to figure in many ways. Because there's like 8 teams. The last one I have in there is Washington, which I might have had them higher if I didn't watch John Wall. Worry for him, he had a rant where he defended his partying. Anytime you're defending your partying,
the beginning
not
of the season.
good. It's like a no-win situation. Like he's like, I'm a grown man. I can do what I want.
Yeah. I have him at 8 as well.
He doesn't look that explosive. And then you've got Otto Porter getting benched and Scott Brooks basically saying it's for effort. That's not good.
Not good.
Dwight Howard. I mean, like on paper, I liked their build, and I would have had him higher. If I didn't see, this is where the over analysis of week 1 could come into play, but like, I need to see John Wall be John Wall, and I need to see Otto Porter not getting into it with Scott Brooks. Those are 2 things that keep me from having them higher. Detroit, I have at 7.
Same here.
They've started out really well. I think if you asked a lot of people, they might have Detroit at like 6 or even 5. Based on their quick start, but
it's going to be the same kind
of
thing.
If there's a team that could fall out, I think it's them.
Yeah, I mean, how many games is Blake going to play?
They've already started losing a few guys here and there. Ish Smith is dealing with something, and Kennard has a shoulder injury, so you start to chip away. Reggie Jackson's not a healthy guy. So yeah, I could see them falling out, and I really want to like plant my flag with Brooklyn and be like, hey, Brooklyn's gonna make it.
Yeah, I just can't. Yeah, they're just gonna lose many close games still.
Yeah, the close games, and those 8 teams. Like if Detroit stays healthy, I think they're almost a lock.
Yeah, absolutely
to make it.
Absolutely.
Miami at 6.
Yep, same here.
I'd go way higher if they could get Jimmy Butler, obviously.
Right.
Then it gets a little interesting in the sort of like 5 through 3 range, because I think a lot of the shine has come off Philly in this last week.
Yeah.
So a lot of people had Philly as a top 3 at a minimum, and then like top 2.
Yeah. So we have the same bottom. I got Indiana at 5 and Philly at 4. The Phillies, they worry me. I think, they kind of remind me of like the Clippers like 6 years ago. You got Blake Griffin just explosive and looking like he's going to be the best power forward in the league for years to come. You got Chris Paul, probably the best point guard in the league. And it was like everyone started giving him their trophies before they had done anything, and then the team that's built properly, that Warrior team, just kind of sprints by them after they were eliminated in the first round. And I think people are really, really crowning Philly, and they read their press, so there's no doubt about that. And that their personalities, I think, are a little dangerous for a team that has a lot of work to do still. And I still don't believe that Joel Embiid is going to buck the trend of bigs with back, knee, and foot injuries. He's playing great, but I think his career is still going to be a lot shorter than people are planning for.
There's a lot of ways this could spiral out of control. I hammered the under with those guys. The Joel Embiid kind of gives me that hope, though, that if somebody really gets to him, and I don't know that this is possible because he's already doing stuff that most coaches don't want you to do. Like most coaches don't want you to flop the way that he flopped against Andre Drummond.
That was disgusting.
Like
there's a
respect for the game issue in there.
Yeah.
And I know that's going to be met with a lot of rolled eyes, but like, because everybody flops.
Right.
But there's like an art to flop. There's like a flopping ethics.
Yeah. That was
like Chris Paul to DeMarcus Cousins. Remember that one?
Yeah, I think Marcus Smart is probably just shaking his head in shame at him, and that's saying something. That was pretty bad. And like so excited about it. I think that's what also the fact that he knew that was his second tee, like, and was and immediately pops up and starts waving to get him out of there and stuff. It's like, really, that's your plan that's your mental game, is to be trying to flop a guy out of the game, like just playing hard and being better than everybody on the court when you have the talent to do it isn't what you're thinking right now. Like there was a lot of them like that really added to what I think about their mental state, So
there was the thing we talked about with the show, the NBA TV show that had Chris Bosh and all the, the recent players on the show. And they just sort of all said the same thing as, yeah, analytics is great, but like, you can't let other teams off the hook, And I think people are like, "Oh, pace is up and 3-point shooting and all this." It's like freaking mind numbing watching a broadcast of almost any team right now, because there's like a 15 minutes dedicated to more threes are being shot and pace, and they're all quoting the same crap they see on the internet, which it's it's painful to hear. Embiid, he shows you that he's willing to go down there and he's willing to dominate, and he kind of like gives you like that hope where he could theoretically, it could click and he could say, you know what, I'll shoot an open trailer 3 if it comes to me, but I'm not worried about the dribble drive. I'm not worried about this or that. Like, let me put a dent in you.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, it's there. And if it's there, then I almost don't care as much about some other stuff with Ben Simmons or, Markelle Fultz. They got depth issues. So I got them at 4.
Okay.
I got Milwaukee at 5.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of people put Milwaukee up higher. I worry about depth with them. I do like their coaching situation. I like Coach Bud there.
Yeah, I got him at 3.
This is why I think this section of the ranks are interesting. I got Indy at 3.
Okay, that's perfectly reasonable. I struggled with that. This 3 through 5 was really where I had the most
it's interchangeable.
Pause. Yeah, they're good. I mean, Indiana's good. They're
deep.
They might be the. I think that they might be the best of those 3. I just think that they're going to finish 5.
I worry about Milwaukee's some of the stuff from last year where they just weren't able to engage and play defense at times.
Yeah,
but I love Milwaukee, man. I probably got the most shares of Chris Middleton in the fantasy universe. He's on like every single one of my teams. He's amazing.
I think that the one thing that, and I don't know, I didn't pay too much attention to him particularly in these early games, but he got to rein in Bledsoe.
As usual.
The quicker that happens, and I don't know if you do that by, when he gets out of line, you go heavy with DiVincenzo, even if at times he might get eaten up here and there. You got to let that guy know that he's not the bee's knees that he thinks he is. You got to do that quick. So that would be my only worry.
Yeah, it's tough because he commands a pretty big, chunk of money, as well as, the expectations are that he plays a lot of minutes, and you would be kicking a beehive.
Yes, absolutely.
But it might be a beehive worth kicking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then I got the Celtics at 2 and the Raps at 1.
Yeah. I think we talked a lot in the preseason about that I thought it might take a little bit of time for the Raptors to gel, but man, you know what? Kawhi
Did you see
Leonard's
that no-look steal?
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
He's pretty special. I think that this is what worried me as a Laker fan. This is what worried me about them not making the move, a serious move to get him, because I don't know that he's leaving. Everyone just is such a foregone conclusion, but from all I've heard, Toronto's a great city. They look like they're going to be the number 1, best team, top 2. He's cruising. He was my preseason MVP. So, they're going to be able to pay him more than anybody else. I mean, the taxes are high there, so that's one downer. Taxes are really high, but I don't know.
He was 11-1 for MVP preseason. I also took him as MVP on the Doc Sports show that I do with Scott Spritzer and those guys. They're big establishment Vegas guys, and they were not shocked. Yeah, but they all kind of went, "Oh, really?" And to me, it's like best player on the best team in the East. You got a lot of guys canceling each other out elsewhere. I think voters regret some of the stupid stuff they've done in the past.
Sure. Yeah.
The year that Kawhi was the best player in the league, and they picked Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, because his stats were in a cute little box for them that was perfectly wrapped called triple double, and it's like, dude, like Kawhi Leonard's clearly better than him. Clearly.
Well, yeah, James Harden as well, and it's they don't, basketball media and basketball analysts, not the same thing. Is basically what it boils down to. Right. The Raps look great. Celtics are already dealing with some of the issues of having too many good players.
That's they might, and that too is like, they might, the same thing. Like they needed I don't know. They're in trouble. They don't look good. I don't have a good feeling about them. I think that the East and some of those other, I mean, I think they'll make the Eastern Conference Finals again. But I don't really see a route for them to beat Toronto in a 7-game series.
Yeah,
I know it's so early and that's a huge, but I mean, even without seeing them, I thought that Toronto was going to come out of the East, but they don't have enough dogs, and I think that the way that Tatum and Brown matured last year is real. They're not. I don't think they're willing to sit around and wait for Gordon Hayward and sit there and watch Kyrie fire up fadeaway threes and stuff for very long. So they're going to do something there.
I think you can get with Kyrie doing with what he's doing, but it's going to be hard for Gordon Hayward. I think he's the odd man out here.
Yeah,
he's really top heavy right now. It's funny that video game commercial he's in. Like, when he's taking the free throw at the end of the video game commercial, they've got this muscle-bound guy who doesn't look like he shot a free throw in his life. They flicks the free throw, and that's the final scene of a really cool video game commercial. Like, he looks like he should be the power forward. But can he defend anybody right now, I wonder? Like, I just don't... He's stiff. And that's...
But you're hoping that the long relationship with Stevens, that maybe he can get that out of him. He can maybe help Hayward accept less minutes, being at that 4 slot and really concentrating on that defensive end of the court, because I mean, Brown and Tatum, they want their spots at the table, and they deserve them. Yeah, they deserve them. So
I mean, you can pick their games apart all you want.
Yeah,
but they're the guys that, if you're talking about competing against the Raps, where I picked the Celtics over the Raps earlier about 3 shows ago, and I probably changed that up, is the their depth. The Aaron Baineses, the Marcus Morrises, the Terry Rozier's has more playoff experience, better playoff experience than the Fred Van Vliets and the Delon Wrights and the Pascal Siakams. Those guys are. But here's the thing: if Kawhi, it's clicking already. The way that it's clicking, you don't worry about the benches. You worry about the big contributors, and they just look really good. That's and I think they can sustain hits, and I think that they can, if somebody got injured, they have somebody to, like, if Kyle Lowry got injured, I don't think they would skip a beat really in the regular season.
I don't think so either.
And that gives them, that affords them certain things, like they're able to rest guys right now that they don't really, that might not need to be rest, or that might get rest in other situations. Anyway,
and it's funny too. Like, just one last thing on the Raptors. There's something to be said about going to the playground with your big brother who's better than everybody. Like, those dudes just kind of walk differently. Like when you're watching Toronto, like CJ Miles and stuff, they're just like, everything they do on the court is with more confidence just because Kawhi Leonard's there, because they know they got that hammer in their back pocket. So it's going to be they're going to be fun to watch.
That is an interesting feeling. I've experienced that. I forget who it was. I think it was. Do you remember Brian? We used to play with a 6'6" dude that was a ringer for Sean Kemp.
Yeah, exactly.
If he was on your team, I felt good.
Yeah, you're like, I can take this shot because I'm pretty sure we're getting the offensive rebound.
And you didn't have to worry about him on the other end. It was like, oh man, I don't want to go in there against that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's when you have a guy on your team that's no look stealing. I mean, that was just phenomenal.
I've never seen that. I mean, it's rare that you are you watch as much basketball as we watch, and there's something you've never seen. I've never seen that.
Well,
before.
And I think like it's because he's so good at reading defense or reading offenses. Like I saw this in the preseason. This made me really encouraged about how things were going to be over there. He is deking the counter to the counter on defense. So like he's like showing like he's going to be the help man on the pick and roll, but he's hiding behind the traffic. So he's like showing a leg. You know, he's like the driving point guard gets to see a leg, and they think, oh, Kawhi has, you know, come into the paint to cover this, and he's already sprinting out to cover that pass to the 3-point line and getting the steal. So he's just thinking ahead of them. It's beautiful. All right, we've already gone to $1.15 on this show, so that's going to be it for us today. Any final thoughts before we cut loose here, Koz?
No, just that, you know, I'm happy the season started. Let's get in it.
Yeah, dog. Well, another one's in the books. You can find us at www.hoop-ball.com, where you can get all of your NBA news, team coverage, fantasy stuff, and check out the premium package if you're into fantasy. It is both affordable, way too affordable if you ask me, since I'm the one that makes these things. I would like to charge more, but I get a lot of internal pressure to charge less. So thank the great Dan Vespers for that. You can also find us at Facebook. Very important place to track us and our thoughts, where we really put the extra effort in to put lots of content on Facebook. That's facebook.com/KOZANDBRU show. And on Twitter, where we are equally hardworking with 736 days without a tweet. Twitter.com/KOZANDBRU show. Another one's in the books. Peace.
Peace.
You are listening to the Koz and Bru show.